The most powerful navy in history patrols the oceans. Aircraft carriers dominate entire regions. Satellites track ships across the globe. Missiles can strike targets hundreds of kilometers away. And yet, a handful of small boats, a few mines, or a single damaged oil tanker can shake global markets. In the past few months, the US and Israel started an aggression war against Iran. Iran responded both symmetrically and asymmetrically. It launched missiles on Israel and US bases in the Middle East, and at the same time closed the Strait of Hormuz. This reminded the world of a difficult truth: naval and air superiority do not guarantee control. 3 centuries ago, European empires faced the same dilemma in the Mediterranean, not against great fleets, but against the Barbary Corsairs of North Africa. Today, many analysts see echoes of that strategy in Iran's asymmetric maritime doctrine. This episode asks a historical question: are we witnessing the return of a very old form of warfare at sea? Traditional naval warfare seeks decisive battles, line against line, fleet against fleet, victory through destruction. When a state cannot defeat its enemy directly, it attacks what the enemy depends on: trade, logistics, economics, political stability. The goal is not military victory. The goal is strategic pressure. Instead of defeating a stronger adversary, the weaker actor makes confrontation costly, unpredictable, and economically exhausting. Maritime history provides one of the earliest and clearest examples of this approach. From the 16th to the early 19th century, the Barbary States developed a naval system fundamentally different from European regular fleets. They did not aim to dominate the sea through large warships. Instead, they relied on mobility and the scatter of force. Corsair vessels were fast, lightly built, and highly maneuverable. Their purpose was not conquest of territory but disruption of commerce. Merchant shipping became the battlefield. Western merchants crossing the Mediterranean faced constant risk of capture unless diplomatic agreements were reached. Treaties, tributes, and negotiated arrangements emerged after sustained economic pressure. The Corsairs understood something crucial: empires depend on uninterrupted flow of wealth. By threatening commerce, they influence powers far stronger than themselves. Strategic chokepoints amplify weaker powers. The Barbary Corsairs operated near the Strait of Gibraltar, a narrow maritime passage linking the Mediterranean to the Atlantic Ocean. Every vessel entering or exiting the Mediterranean passed through this corridor. Control did not require permanent blockade. It required the ability to strike unpredictably. 3 centuries later, the same strategic logic appears in the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow passage connects the Persian Gulf to global markets. 20% of the world's oil exports travel through it every day. Energy roads converge here. Oil tankers carrying fuel to Europe, Asia, and beyond must transit waters located directly along Iran's coastline. Iran cannot outmatch the United States Navy in open battles, but geography changes the equation. The strait itself becomes a strategic equalizer. Rather than building a fleet designed for conventional naval warfare, Iran developed forces optimized for asymmetric confrontation. Fast attack boats operating in swarms, anti-ship missiles deployed along the coast, naval mines, drones, and surveillance systems. Their purpose is not to destroy enemy fleets. Their purpose is to threaten energy circulation. When oil tankers are attacked, seized, or harassed in the Strait of Hormuz, the military damage may be limited, but the economic consequences are immediate. Insurance premiums rise, shipping routes shift, oil prices react within hours. This mirrors the logic used by Barbary Corsairs centuries earlier. The target is not the navy, the target is the global trade and economy. Asymmetric maritime warfare transforms trade into leverage. Barbary Corsairs captured ships to compel negotiations. Iran threatens disruption to compel political calculation. Neither strategy necessarily seeks permanent closure of the trade routes. Instead, both rely on controlled instability. The message is clear: Trade may continue, but only under conditions shaped by the regional power controlling the choke point. In modern terms, attacks on oil tankers and threats to block energy routes function as instruments of strategic signaling. They demonstrate capability without escalating immediately into total war. This gray zone between peace and conflict is where asymmetric warfare thrives. Great naval powers are designed to win wars decisively. They are less effective at preventing persistent low-level disruption. Destroying a fleet ends a conventional war, but asymmetric actors rarely present a fleet to destroy. Boats disperse, mines remain invisible, escalation risks outweigh immediate retaliation. The stronger power becomes trapped between overreaction and inaction. This dilemma confronted European powers facing Barbary States, and it confronts the US against Iran today. The comparison between Barbary Corsairs and Iran does not suggest identical motives or identical political systems. History does not repeat itself perfectly, but strategic patterns endure. Both cases demonstrate how weaker maritime actors transform vulnerability into leverage by targeting commerce rather than fleets. Control of trade routes becomes influence over international politics. Sea power in this sense is not only measured in ships, but in the ability to disrupt movements itself. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, and share with your friends. Thank you for watching, and salam.